Hey there, YouTube. I had a dream about my ex last night. Although, it actually wasn't really as much about him. Oh, and technically this would have been earlier this morning. I was trying to get sleep last night and I didn't get sleep until after 6 a.m. So definitely earlier this morning. It is about 2:45 in the afternoon right now where I am. So yeah, the dream actually wasn't that much about him. I think it was more so his sisters. He had two sisters, two older sisters actually. He was the baby in that family. There were three siblings. He had two older sisters and then it was him. And his two older sisters and I did get along pretty well. I really did like both of them a lot. And I liked his entire family. A big part of us, like the difficulty with the breakup was also not only me missing him, but me missing his family, like a lot. His family just had really great vibes, like not too serious, like a good sense of humor, just kind of lighthearted, fun, easygoing. I just always really like them. And the vibes in my family's just so small and boring and like, I don't know, the vibes in my family, what there would be of it was usually a lot different. Especially when I was older, like a teenager, and after that, like, you know, becoming an adult and stuff, it was just like so strict and serious and just kind of like grim, kind of just like grim vibes, depressing kind of, you know, just, but they were so much fun and I really miss them. So I miss him too, but honestly at this point, because it's been so long since we've been together, at this point I kind of miss his family, like maybe even more than him. We broke up in 2012, by the way. Okay, so this was obviously a long time ago. Isn't that pretty much, I think that's 14 years ago. So almost 15 effing years. That's quite a while. I still dream about him and his family and stuff, I guess, from time to time. Well, usually I would dream about him rather than his family, whereas, yeah, earlier it was more so his family this time, or that time. Where I'm parked right now, it's so weird. I am at the gym, again. Literally, it's so weird where I'm parked right now. I'm parked in the same spot, almost. Not the exact same spot, and I'm actually facing the other direction, but I am in the same parking lot that I was doing my video from yesterday. And where I'm facing right now, I am facing the building that he used to work at back when we were together. And even the area that I'm facing, it's kind of like the back of their building that I'm seeing right now. And so it's like the back door where they would go out to smoke cigarettes and take their break. And there is actually a guy standing out there right now doing just that. It looks like he's probably a worker on a cigarette break. He's standing right by the back door. And that's exactly where my ex and his friends and coworkers that used to work there used to stand and smoke and hang out and stuff. And I used to drive back there and, you know, like visit sometimes. So I don't know why. Maybe I shouldn't have mentioned that because now I'm sad. I really effed up with that. Being single is no good. It's no good. I mean, honestly, I think I would prefer to be single. I must, since I have been for so long. It's more so just the financial stuff for me. It really is. It's no joke. I was just on the phone with my electric company Last time I called my electric company, I was on the phone with them for over an hour. This time it was not nearly as long. Thank gosh. This time I was on the phone with them for, I don't know how long, maybe like 20 or 30 minutes, but oh gosh. So, because I've been making a lot of changes back at the apartment that I stay at lately, as far as trying to like limit my electric usage to lower my bill. But I started doing that within the last month or so, ever since I got my last bill. But I guess that's not reflecting in my bill this month. Apparently, that won't be reflecting until next month's bill, just based on how they do the dates with that. Apparently, which I didn't really realize until I called them today. So I guess it makes a little more sense. I was hoping for a lower bill this month, and technically it is a little lower, but not as much as I was hoping. So I'm hoping with all the steps that I've taken to try to lower my electric usage and my bill, I'm hoping that will finally reflect in next month's bill. All I'm really using for electricity back at that apartment is I charge my laptop and I go on my laptop, 2 LED light bulbs, and occasionally there's other light bulbs that I use briefly, like in the bathroom when I'm taking a shower. But for the most part, it's just 2 light bulbs most of the time when I'm there, and also the microwave. Although I'm trying to cut back on the microwave too at this point, so it's no good. It really, really is, you know, not nice. And yeah, I'm kind of bummed today because my intentions for today. So yes, I did a video yesterday. I think I got back to the apartment probably around 9 o'clock last night, I'm pretty sure. Maybe 8:39, somewhere around there. And I was really hoping that what I wanted to try to do, was obviously shower and, go online from my laptop a little bit, eat, and then go to sleep. I wanted to try to sleep through the night and get up earlier today so that I could have done a day shift at the club today. I really, when possible, although it's very rare that I'm able to do this, I was able to do it last week, but it is a rare thing for me. I really try to do day shifts at the club when I can on Fridays, especially because we pay to work there, and doing a day shift, getting there exactly at opening time or before we open, that's the main way to get credits on your account so that you don't have to pay as much to work there. So I used to do much more day shifts last year and a couple years before that, and just at different points like in the past, but for a while now I've been doing mostly mostly night shifts, but getting in kind of like later afternoon. So it still takes money off my account for me to do that, which I do really worry about because I really don't make money there. So if I didn't have the credits on my account that I do, I would not be able to work there. It just wouldn't be possible, which is really, really scary, because I like to be there and I don't have to worry about my electric usage there. I can charge my phone and, it's warmer there. I don't have heat in my apartment, or I don't put it on, because it's just too expensive for me. So when I'm at the club, it's like I can be in a warmer space, use the electric without trying to count every kilowatt that I'm using. Like there's facilities there. I can just, like, I'm such a loser. I really am the exact definition of a true loser, because it's like I'm going there just to try to use the utilities at this point. I do so poorly there, and just so poorly in my so-called life or existence, really, that I'm really just going there. I've mentioned before I go there for the workout, but at this point it's also really just the roof over my head and the utilities, like it's so embarrassing. It's just, you know, it's like, I can't believe what a loser I really am. And it's like, yeah, so I was gonna try to get sleep last night. I really, really tried. I think I got to bed around midnight and I woke up at 2 a.m. So I got 2 hours of sleep last night. And that wasn't a very deep sleep. Those 2 hours, it wasn't really true sleep anyway, or, you know, so those 2 hours, it was more of like a half sleep where, you know, it just wasn't real sleep. I didn't feel like it was real sleep, you know? So, or like deep sleep, that kind of thing. So yeah, I got up at 2 a.m. I really, really tried, as I always do when that happens. I tried really, really hard to get back to sleep and I just couldn't do it. So, oh, but what did end up happening, I had a couple people here in my YouTube. I had mentioned in one of my recent videos that I had some poems online that I had typed out and posted on a webpage many, many, many years ago. And it had been a very long time since I had been able to find that webpage or those poems on there. Just that webpage in general. I think the website actually changed its name. It looks like they still have the same logo, but I'm pretty sure the name of the site is slightly different now compared to what it used to be back when I had posted those poems on there. And so when I had tried to find that page and tried to find the poems on there a few years ago, whenever it was that I tried to go back and do that, I was not able to find them. And I mentioned that in one of my recent YouTube videos. And when I mentioned that, I was kind of joking when I was like, oh, if anybody knows anything about computers, maybe you could, anybody out there, like, maybe just let me know if you happen to find that or something. I did not think in the slightest bit that anybody would bother or even be able to actually do that, to actually find those. I was mostly kind of just joking when I said that, you know, because, well, I always worry about my electronics being hacked into and stuff like that. And so I was kind of like, any hackers out there or anybody that knows anything about computers, like, here's maybe something that you could try to do. Or, yeah, I was mostly joking, and I really didn't think in the slightest bit that there was any chance of anybody ever actually being able to find those or help out with that. And last night, I don't know, within the past couple days, there were two users, two screen names, I think. Maybe it was one person with two screen names, or maybe it was two people. But there were two screen names on my YouTube that both left comments about that. And the first was somebody like Kev with some numbers and letters after. I'm sorry, the numbers and letters seemed a little random and jumbled to me, so I don't really know off the top of my head what they are. And the second user was NSA hole. So, but it looks like most of those comments were deleted and from my YouTube comment section, but not by me. So luckily, yeah, I did see those comments last night. I saw them yesterday. I saw them when I was pretty much here in the same parking lot, like at the gym. Yeah, so last night. And when I saw them originally, I was at the gym and I had been doing my YouTube video that day. So I was kind of just focusing on my YouTube video, trying to make sure that posted okay, like posted properly. And then I wanted to just get a quick workout at the gym and try to wrap that up and, you know, get back to the apartment to try to get some sleep, because I had really wanted to get sleep last night and be able to get up early today to do a day shift at the club. Partly to try to get some credits on my account, and also because my favorite manager usually works today. So I really, really wanted to be able to go into the club today. But again, I just didn't end up being able to get back to, after I woke up at 2 a.m., I wasn't able to get back to sleep until 6 a.m. or around there approximately. But so when I saw those comments on my YouTube last night, it was pretty much right before, I think I was leaving the gym and right before I was about to drive back to the apartment, you know, to try to wrap things up and go to bed. So I was very, very, very tired. I was extremely exhausted yesterday. I actually feel pretty good today. Like, I feel like if I had been able to get up earlier, like on time this morning, I feel like I would have been able to do pretty good with a day shift at the club today. Like, I remember when I was able to do the day shift last Friday, going into that day shift last Friday, I had been at the gym here, at the same gym before that. And then going into that day shift last Friday, last week, I was so exhausted. I was exhausted. I think with that being the case, especially, I did manage to do pretty good for that day shift, but especially going into it, I just felt really tired and not good. And same with yesterday, like yesterday and last night. When I was at the gym last night, I only did a 5K on the treadmill. I actually did do a little bit of weights though. I hadn't done weights in quite a while, so I was able to get a little bit back into that, and then I did a 5K on the treadmill. Which honestly though, a 5K on the treadmill isn't really very good for me. I mean, it's at least something, but I usually try to do more than that, you know. But even for me to get that 5K, it was a struggle. I was really having to push myself, and I was just exhausted. All day yesterday, I was absolutely exhausted, like exhausted, and I did not feel very well with that. Whereas today, yeah, today I feel pretty good, but which is weird because I mean, I really didn't sleep last night. I did get a little bit of sleep earlier this morning. I don't know. It's just all weird, you know, but anyway, so when I ended up waking up again, I think I got a little bit of sleep between like midnight and 2 a.m. And then when I got up at 2 a.m., I went back on my phone to check those comments, because getting back to the apartment that I stay at last night, I was too tired to really check on my laptop to check from what the comments had said about those poems. Other than my YouTube, I really don't do anything on my phone as far as like the internet and stuff like that. So my phone really doesn't have any storage left. So, you know, and to try to do stuff online from my phone, that apparently uses storage space. So since I don't have storage space on my phone, if I see something or think of something that I want to look up online, I try not to do it from my phone, because I know that's going to use storage space and I don't have storage space on my phone. So I usually try to wait until I'm at the apartment that I stay at so I can do it from my laptop there. So yeah, last night when I saw some of those comments about the poems, those two usernames had mentioned thinking that they found that webpage with the poems on it. I was like really excited. I was excited, but I didn't want to get my hopes up too much. You know what I mean? So, but I did wait. I waited till I got back to the apartment. And then when I got back to the apartment, I was just too tired to really do it right then. I was too anxious too. I was really just nervous about it, you know, because also, like, if two people had said, or if two usernames had said that they thought they found that webpage, that means that they might have been able to see the poems that I had put on there. And yeah, those poems were from a very long time ago, so I just know that they would be very cringe, you know, and just kind of embarrassing for people to like see them and read them and stuff. And now, since I'm not able to like, obviously I don't know, like, I don't remember my username and my password for that website, so I really can't go back on there to try to edit them. I knew, like, even if I found that page, I knew that I wasn't gonna be able to log back in to try to edit that stuff. So anyway, so when I woke up, at first when I got back to the apartment last night, again, I was too tired. I just did what I had to do as far as like showering, eating, and that kind of thing. And then I just tried to find like a couple other videos on YouTube just to watch, like to try to just unwind, veg out, you know, just relax a little bit. Tried to get to sleep, woke up at 2 a.m. When I woke up at 2 a.m., I was like, all right, I guess I should try to just see about those comments and see if I can find that webpage. So I went back on my phone to look for the comments, and the comments were no longer there. So that was concerning. And there were also a couple other comments from a different user that had mentioned something about Toronto, Canada, where they had left a comment and I had replied to them, and then they had replied again, and those comments were also no longer there. So either there's some usernames that are doing that on purpose to mess with me because they know that I stress out about my electronics and stuff online like that, or it is just YouTube itself possibly deleting those comments, although I'm not sure why it would be doing that. I really don't know off the top of my head if it's against the rules, maybe on YouTube, for people to try to post like actual web addresses, like to type out the full web address and leave it as a comment. But based on what it sounded like people were trying to say, it sounded like those usernames that were talking about the poems were having an issue with trying to do that, where those comments were, yeah, either not posting or getting deleted. So again, I really haven't additionally bothered to try to Google if that's against the rules for YouTube, although I really wouldn't be surprised if it is, because, you know, stuff is just weird nowadays. The rules are ridiculous with stuff a lot of times, like overly strict in my opinion, and just weird, you know, like, so yeah, I guess maybe it's possible that, for all I know, it's, for whatever reason, it's just against the rules on YouTube to post actual web addresses like that. Because yeah, those comments were mysteriously just no longer there. But luckily, thank gosh, I did remember what they had said mostly. Not exactly, but I remembered the general gist of what those comments had said before they were no longer there. So I just kind of went off of what I could remember, and I went, yeah, back on my laptop and tried looking for that page, and I found it. I can't believe it. I really can't believe it. Like, oh, and when I found that page, apparently, so I knew that that webpage and those poems were from a long time ago, but I did not realize just how long ago it was. And on that page, it did have the dates that I posted those poems, like, listed on the webpage. It says that I had posted those poems back in 2013. So it said May of 2013, and there's 22 of them, 22 poems on there. It also shows the time that I posted them. So it looks like I started posting those poems around midnight of May in 2026. I think it was like May 17th, or it was on a Friday. I know that. It was, so I guess, yeah, it would have been like late Thursday night going into early Friday morning around midnight. So the very start of Friday, like at midnight pretty much. And it looks like I had posted those, you know, in the early morning hours, like 12 a.m., 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., up until like 4 a.m., 4:30 in the morning. So, and I can remember where I was doing that, thinking back now. And where I was at that time, like even back then, I would usually be up like all night, you know. I've never really been able to sleep at night. Um, so yeah, and I used to work on my writing, not just poems, but I've been trying to write a book for a while, and I can remember, you know, back at that time, I would be up all night just working on my writing, trying to work on my book, working on my poems. So that's, you know, like 13 years ago, just about. You know, it's March now, it's about to be May, obviously, in a couple of months. So May of this year, that'll be 13 years ago. Those poems, I didn't realize it was that long ago. And, you know, I was not in a great place back then. That was the year after my ex and I had broken up, because we broke up in early 2012. So that was like a year after that, pretty much. And I was living with my mom at the time. Which we've always had kind of a difficult, you know, relationship. And I mentioned in my video yesterday, when I had been with my ex, we were together for about 5 years after I was out of high school, which I did not graduate, by the way. So I moved in with him shortly into my senior year of high school. So early into my senior year of high school, I had already turned 18. And I was already doing so bad in high school at that point. There was no way I was going to graduate. There were so many subjects I just couldn't do. And I had been through so many things the previous years. And even that same year, I had been through a lot. And so because I was 18, I moved in with him. And we were together for, about 5 years. And in those 5 years, I was really struggling. Looking back, I really probably should not have moved in with him at that time, just based on like what a bad place I was in and all the stuff that I was struggling with and all the stuff that had happened to me in high school. Or with me in high school. It was all pretty much my own fault, probably, but so I was mentioning in my video yesterday that I had struggled with shoplifting back then quite a bit, and I ended up in jail for that. December of 2009. I was in jail for about a month. So looking at those poems last night, a lot of them have that kind of tone, that kind of vibe, and that kind of tone where I really get the sense of being in jail. Like, just the time that I spent there, even though I didn't post those poems until a few years after I had been in jail. Well, okay, so if I was in jail December of 2009, I got out January of 2010, and I posted those poems early 2013. So that's like 3 years after being in jail. It was also about 2 years into my recovery process that I've talked about a little bit on here before. I am 15 years into that process now. I was going through a lot of crap back then, okay? So there was a lot of stuff. It was really pretty bad too. So, and those poems reflect that, you know, really. And, you know, a lot of the poems on there, I hadn't really remembered what they were or what they would have been. There was one or two that were shorter there was one in particular that was only like a few lines that I remembered off the top of my head, that I had remembered all these years and like rewritten down like in notebooks and stuff. But most of those poems I had just forgotten. You know, because ever since then, a lot of kind of bad, crazy crap has continued to be happening in my world. So, you know, those poems, it's like, they had been in notebooks and I would like lose the notebooks. I was just moving around from place to place and nothing ever really felt stable or secure. The apartment that I was in before the one I've been at now, I had to move out of there very abruptly because I had a lot of crazy roommates there that were just absolute nightmare type people and roommates. Just roommates and people in general, honestly, like pretty much. So yeah, there was just a lot of abrupt crazy. And actually the house that I was staying with at my mom at that time when I posted those poems, she moved out of that house without telling me. So I really, to this day, I'll never understand why she did that. That really was very hurtful for me. When she moved out of there, I was in the apartment that I'm currently staying at now. But I was still kind of in the process of settling into there. I think I had only been there a couple of years at that point, which I've been at that apartment now for 10 years. But back then I'm pretty sure back then would have been my second year being there. And to this day, she's never been to that apartment. She's never seen it. She's never, bothered to come visit or see it. um, but yeah, so when I had only been there for a couple of years at first, the house that I had been staying at with her before I moved in there, well, yeah, there was one apartment in between, and that was the apartment that I had the nightmare roommates. But yeah, the house that I had been living in with her before I moved up towards the club to be in those two apartments, she moved out of there my second year of being at the apartment that I'm at now without telling me. So I had a lot of notebooks, I had a lot of my writing, I had just a lot of stuff in general. I had clothes, I had very sentimental things like, from high school, like times with my friends, pictures, photographs, yeah, notebooks with my writing, movies, stuff that I had spent money on. I actually had a stripper pole there too. I had a pole that I went through a lot to try to get because at first my ex had, I gave him cash because I didn't have my own bank card back then. So I had given him cash to try to get it with his card. And he ended up spending the money that I gave him on a new BMX bike without telling me. So I had already ordered the pole, I'm pretty sure, and like the order had been canceled and I didn't understand why. And I like weeks or like months later, I called up the company and I was like, why have I still not gotten my pole? And they were like, oh, it was canceled or something like that. And so I had to like go through that whole process of trying to get that pole. And then when my mom moved out of there without telling me, that pole's gone too. I had gone through so much to get that pole and it was gone. So along with all the other stuff that I had there, my writing, my other laptops, books, clothes, I had a whole room full of stuff there and it's all gone. And she just never told me that. She never gave me a heads up, like, oh, I'm gonna be moving. If you want any of this stuff, maybe come get it. And the apartment that I was staying at, it was about a 45-minute drive from the apartment that I was at to that house. So it's not like it would have been a whole big production really for me to go down there and get some of that stuff. For me, that's still a long drive, but for most people that probably wouldn't be considered that long of a drive. And even for me, with that being considered a long drive now especially, it would have been worth it for me to try. I still would have done it to try to get some of that stuff. Like I really was heartbroken and I still am heartbroken and always will be about a lot of the stuff that I lost that had been there. And a lot of it was my writing and my notebooks and stuff. So yeah, just throughout the years, it's been really difficult for me to try to hold on to my stuff, my work, my stuff in general, really, my stuff in general. But yeah, my work, my writing. So when I typed those poems onto that website, the main reason I had done that was to try to save them, to try to not have to have the physical copies on my person, to try to have to worry about trying to hold on and not lose. I had wanted to think by putting them online that it would be like a safer spot for them to be where I wouldn't have to worry about losing them as much. But, you know, I also have issues with stuff on the internet to where I usually end up getting locked out of my accounts. I'm terrified, obviously, about this happening with my YouTube, of course. I had this happen with my Facebook recently, where Facebook just, I have another account on YouTube. So that's a different account that I don't stream on, and that's the one that I go on from my laptop back at the apartment that I stay at. So that's the one that I use recreationally. Again, I don't stream on there. But even that account of mine from my laptop, anytime that I shut my laptop off and leave the apartment, every time I leave the apartment, I shut the laptop off and lock it up in my fridge that's shut off. There's a story there I've mentioned. I'm sure I'll mention it again at some point, but not now. Every time I leave that apartment, I shut my laptop off. So almost every time that I get back and put my laptop back on, YouTube has automatically on its own, or something or someone has signed me out of that YouTube account. So, and I don't want to be signed out of that YouTube account. I want to just stay signed in without having to redo it. But same thing with Facebook. It had just kept logging me out by itself. Someone, something, or just maybe the website itself. And I didn't want to be logged out. I wasn't doing it. I wanted to stay logged in. But eventually with Facebook, what ended up happening recently, or pretty recently, I haven't been able to log back in. You know, I do forget my passwords, or maybe they're just being changed without me even realizing, for all I know. It's probably a combination. I don't really know. It's too much of a mess up here. Okay, so yeah, I asked them to resend the code, or to send me the code to my phone to try to log back into Facebook. They wouldn't do it. It wasn't working. So I can't get back into my Facebook, which I have a lot of stuff on there that I really care about too. A lot of my work, a lot of my pictures of me from the club on the pole, videos too. I have videos of me at the club on the pole doing pole tricks that I'm really proud of. That's my work, you know, but I can't even access it. So I have always struggled with my stuff, even online. Even if I try to put stuff online as a kind of safeguard, whether it be my writing or my pictures and videos, a lot of it just seems to get deleted, go missing, or I'm locked out of the account. So that pretty much seemed like it was the case with that webpage with my poems. But again, in that particular case, I think I kind of just honestly forgot my username and password, which does also happen. So it's like, if it's not one, it's the other. Either I forget my username and password, that does happen, I will admit. That is the case some of the time. Because again, I feel like I'm always being pulled in a million different directions. Nothing's ever steady or secure in my world. So it's like I would just be losing stuff and rushing around and having to leave stuff behind, or it would go missing mysteriously. I've had stuff go missing from my car in my apartment and my locker at the club. You know, so it would either, but with the web pages, it would either be me forgetting my username and password just from being so rushed and scatterbrained and like ADHD probably. Or other cases, it would seem like more of a case where someone or something else, or the web page itself, would just be logging me out or kicking me out and like blocking me from being able to get back in, maybe. I don't really know exactly, but so yeah, with that webpage with the poems, I hadn't been able to get back in there the last time that I tried to log in. And I did have this little like small notebook that I had tried to write down my username and passwords for different websites, but for whatever reason, I hadn't written that one down. And even to this day, I think back and I'm like, how, out of all of the little page, not that many, but out of the pages that I had tried to write down my username and passwords for, how of all of those could I not have written down the one for my poems and my writing? Because that would have been the one that meant the most to me, if anything, probably, or right up there with the ones that were most important to me. And I didn't write that one down apparently, because I guess I was too lost in the mess of everything, going on all these years. It's just been such a mess. There's never been any stability, it seems like. I've never felt that any sense of security or stability with anything, really. So it's been really difficult for me to try to just, maintain stuff that means a lot, that matters to me, that's important to me, that my work, but it doesn't really matter to anybody else anyways, it seems like. But it still matters to me. Anyway, yeah, it had been many years since I had even tried to access that website. I just couldn't find it. And then the webpage itself, I think, changed their name. So I really thought I was never going to find that page or those poems again. So definitely thank you to the 2 usernames that were able to find that. I couldn't believe that. And seeing those poems, it was like coming home in a sense, like of a big part of myself, where it was just like, wow. At the same time, yes, a lot of those poems are very cringe, as a lot of poetry can be, you know what I mean? Especially coming from a person like me. Yes, I know that they're very cringe, and I am embarrassed about that. But at the same time, those poems were from over 13 years, well, not over, they were from almost 13 years ago at this point. But, even though I typed them up, at that time, I had probably written a lot of those before I typed them up, I'm assuming. So yeah, they were probably a lot of them from over, not just almost, but over 13 years ago. So I would have been 24 at the time that I posted those, and possibly 23 when I had written a lot of those, like the first time writing them before I typed them up and posted them on that webpage. So I was like, pretty much early 20s when I did those poems. So, so what if they're cringe, and looking back at them last night, I did want to edit them a bit. I wanted to change some things around, like looking back, coming back at them with like after having taken that long break of not having seen them or read them for so long. But yeah, I'm not able to log back into that site. I don't remember my username or my password, but to see those poems like that, again, thank you to the people that found that. I actually did write all of those poems out by hand. I wrote them down. That's what I was doing from pretty much when I woke up at 2 a.m. last night, from pretty much 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. That's what I was doing. That's mostly what I was doing. I was writing down those poems by hand in a notebook. I added the webpage to my favorites, but it's like I felt like I had to write all those poems down right then, because even with my laptop, nothing really seems to work very well or be secure on there. So if I were to even like fall asleep for say like a few hours or like an hour or two with my laptop there, when I get up later, my laptop might not be working properly. Like the page will freeze, or the entire laptop might freeze and I'll have to restart it, or I have a lot of issues with my laptop too. So if I'm on a web page and I want to do something, I better do it right there and then, because if I take even any little break in between, I might not be able to get back to it. So when I found that page of poems, I was like, I better just write these down by hand right now, because even though I guess that page had possibly been on that, right there on that on that online somewhere, even though apparently maybe it had been up all these years, for like 13 years, for me personally to try to access it, me being able to access it in that moment was one thing, but if I take any break in between, that could just be gone forever again. My laptop could crash, or my laptop could freeze, or it might just, like with the comments on my YouTube last night, there were comments there telling me how to find that webpage. When I went back to it a couple hours later after getting back to the apartment, those comments were gone. So if I hadn't remembered what the comments said, mostly from earlier on when I first saw them here at the gym, last night, if I hadn't been able to remember them pretty well, I might not have, I probably wouldn't have been able to get onto that website, you know? Because yeah, those comments were gone in a matter of hours, pretty much. I saw them here when I was at the gym. I drove back to my place, or I drove back to the place that I stay at, and like an hour or two later, those comments were gone in that short time span. So same thing with my laptop. If I'm doing something on my laptop and any amount of time lapses by, any moment, everything can just mess up. And then it's like, I'm not able to do anything. Every single moment, I just have to do what I want to do right there. That's a big part of why I always feel so rushed with everything. I can't wait for anything. Anything that I want to try to do, it's right there, right then, or the moment the opportunity could just be gone. You know, because nothing is secure, nothing is reliable. It's just all gonna break or crash or be ruined at any moment, is just how it constantly feels and constantly seems over here in my in my little horrific world. So yes, I did again want to thank the people that were able to find that webpage. However, I'll be honest here. I am usually pretty honest. It also does kind of freak me out and concern me a little bit, because one of the users that was kind of trying to mention how to try to find that webpage where their comments mysteriously were deleted or missing hours later, if even that, it was probably less than a couple hours. It might have even been less than 1 hour, because I am not that far from the gym. The apartment that I stay at is not that far from the gym. It's not far at all. So if I saw them when I was at the gym and then I didn't see them when I got back to the apartment later, oh, but I had slept a little bit, I think. Or no, honestly, no, because no, I hadn't. I checked those comments again, I'm pretty sure, right when I got back to the apartment. The comments were still on my YouTube when I was here at the gym. I drove back, which is like a 20-minute drive, if that. 15-minute drive even, maybe. I drove back, I checked my phone again at the apartment, and the comments were no longer there. So I'm saying like, oh, it was hours later. It could even just been like 15 minutes later. I'm not able to remember everything exactly, like, you know what I mean? I was so tired yesterday, and I'm always pretty much exhausted and scatterbrained. So, but yeah, I'm like, the comments didn't seem to be up for very long, okay? And they just mysteriously went missing. And also the person, one of the usernames that was leaving the comments about how to try to find the webpage, their screen name is NSA Hole. Now, when I think of NSA, I think of the National Security Administration, which I didn't know exactly what that was off the top of my head. I knew that it stood for that, but I did look this up recently, and apparently what they specialize in particular is like electronic stuff, data and internet and electronics. So there's like the CIA and the NSA. I remember in the movie Good Will Hunting, the main character Will, played by Matt Damon, he was like comparing the two, and he was saying how the NSA was like bigger than the CIA or something like that, or I guess they get compared to each other sometimes. Do other countries have stuff like this, by the way? Because I'm pretty sure those are like for the US, but like what about other countries? Like what's their version of this stuff? Anyway, but that's something else that maybe I'll try to remember to Google at some other time. But so like the CIA, like I was trying to compare them when I looked this up recently on Google. I was like, all right, so there's the CIA and the NSA, like what's the main difference? And the main difference from what I saw, honestly, I still don't really understand. I still don't really know. But the main thing that freaked me out was with the NSA, it said something about like electronics, like they specialize in like data encryption, or like just data electronic stuff. And with all the issues that I have with my electronics and my YouTube, and oh, and that username was also, so my streams don't always post properly, and one of the recent times that had happened, that had happened, I did two I did 2 streams that day. I'm pretty sure that was one of my Tinka Tuesdays. So I think that was last week. Although I'd have to check on that, but I'm pretty sure it was last week. So I'm pretty sure for the first stream that I did, it was supposed to be around 45 minutes, but it was like interrupted or something. So then when I checked on it, only the first like 15 or 16 minutes of the 45 actually posted. And I had like 1 viewer. Like right now, what I've been doing for a little while lately is I don't want to know how many viewers I have for my live streams doing a video. So I cover the view count at the top of the screen with a rubber band. So I can't see how many viewers I have for the stream right now. If I had 0 or if I had 1 or if I had more than that, I wouldn't even know. I can't see it. And I don't want to see it. That's why I do that. That's why I cover the screen. Because it freaks me out. I don't know, it just gets to me. So, but I remember the last time that I had an issue with my streams like that, or one of the very recent times that had happened, there was like 1 user, and whenever there's 1 user, that really especially freaks me out. So, because if I have issues, I'm like, it's them doing it, it's that person, it must be. so, but they actually left a comment. That same user, NSA Hole, actually left a comment where they were like, I was the 1 viewer for that stream. And then they said something about like how they were trying to get other people to watch that stream, but they had technical issues. It all just sounded very, very strange to me. But then especially when I looked up what NSA was and saw that they were involved with like data stuff, I was like, that sounds sus. And I was going to like type that back in a reply for that comment. I was going to be like, that sounds kind of sus, to be honest. LOL. But but I was too like freaked out to even reply. So I didn't do anything with that comment. I didn't like it. I didn't love it. I didn't comment back. I just left it alone. I was like, I don't even know what to do with that. But yeah, if I had replied to it, if I had dared to reply, I was going to be like, yeah, that sounds a little bit sus, to be honest. But I didn't even feel up to doing that. I was like, so yeah, I don't know. It's a little, it does freak me out quite a bit, but I am the kind of person, you know, like I do try to look at the positive sides of things. So rather than focusing on how that freaks me out, I'm going to try to focus on the fact that I was able to find those poems. And I can't believe that I was able to do that. I can't believe that that webpage is still there after all those years, after all these years, especially with the name of the website being different now. I'm pretty sure the name of the site now is different. There's a big chunk of ice sliding down my windshield. We did get snow last night. Not a lot, but we did get some snow. So anyway, sorry, I get distracted. If I was facing the other way, I am near the airport right now. So like yesterday, I was facing the other direction where the planes take off and land, and that really distracts me. So I kind of purposely face this direction today to not be as distracted by the airplanes. Although I haven't even really heard them today. So, but it is pretty gray and cloudy. Anyway, yes, I get very distracted by things, very much. So anyway, yeah, I still can't believe those poems are still there. Apparently, it looks like they are. I was able to read them. I was able to see them. 13 years ago, you know? And I wouldn't have known what to type in for the URL to try to find those, because to type in the URL for me to find them last night, I actually had to type my username before the name of the web page. And yeah, I'm pretty sure the name of the website. So I'm pretty sure it was my username and then the website. Whereas I would have thought that it would be the other way around. I'm so used to thinking of the website name going first with stuff. And again, yeah, I'm pretty sure the name of the website is different now. Like the name of the website and the URL that I typed in, that's the old name that the website was back then. Whereas now it's like the same site, but a different name. So what I typed in for the URL isn't really that complicated. It's just basically my username and the name of the old site. But even with that being the case, I honestly never would have thought to try that. I never would have thought to type that out on my own because I'm just not the brightest bulb, unfortunately. Life's hard, but it's harder when you're stupid, as they say. Ain't that the truth? Anyway, yeah, I'm still trying to process that, you know, because, and also those poems just bring me back to a very weird time. It was a very weird time for me. I was in a very weird place back then when I posted those on that webpage. I still am in a very weird place. I still am. I pretty much always have been in a very weird, difficult place. But that was just, you know, it still had different things about it, obviously, back then, in different aspects. I don't know, it's just, that's just also a very weird time frame for me to look back on and think about. I think I started this stream, oh gosh, I said it out loud earlier. I started this video, I think almost an hour ago. Holy crap. How is that an hour? How is that an hour? Is it? Oh, I have to check now, but I don't want to check. I can't check it. Yes, I can't, with the rubber band, I can't see the view count and I can't see the timestamp either. Which the timestamps have also been very iffy and confusing before. Oh God, it gets stressful for me. Yeah. I wanted to talk a little bit about my favorite manager today. I really wanted to go into work today, you guys. I really did. I really wanted to. My favorite manager is going to be leaving the club very shortly. He's going to be moving pretty far away. Very, very far away, actually. And I'm really going to miss him. I still don't know if I'm going to, like, if I'm going to try to say goodbye to him or, I don't know, just ignore it, I guess. I'm probably just, I don't want to be weird, you know, I don't want to be all weird and stuff, so, and I am weird, so I have to, since I am naturally very weird, I really have to especially make a point to try not to, like, if I don't want to put that onto a particular person, like in real life, so to speak, I have to really try extra hard to, like, make a point to not do that as best I can, although it's usually going to happen anyways, just with how that's how I naturally am, you know, like just a weirdo, so, oh man, but I'll probably, if anything, I think it's going to be easier. I don't know if it's going to be, in some ways, I'm sure it'll be more difficult for me to talk about him once he has left the club and once he has moved away. But in other ways, it might be easier because I get a little anxious trying to talk about him while I know I'm still going to be seeing him at the club. Because I specifically try to work a lot of the shifts that he does. Because I like to work with him. I like to see him. I like the guy. So, but then I also worry a lot of times about people at the club possibly being aware of my YouTube or, like, you know, I have barely over 1,000 subscribers. which for me, that means a lot to me because the max capacity for people at the club is like 500 people, they say. So I just picture that, like when that club is busy, I've seen that club busy before and that seems like so many people to me. So I just picture like on my YouTube, like I have like over twice the amount of subscribers as would fit in that building apparently. So that's amazing to me. But, you know, just thinking about it in this, like, on the scale of like the whole world, like how many people there are actually out in the world, like I want to think that the chances of, if you compare just that number to like the population of the whole world that could be on the internet or that could be on YouTube, apparently, it's like, I want to think that people from the club, other than Taz and Paris, the dancers that I've specifically told on purpose about my channel to have them on it, other than them, and I did specifically ask them not to tell anyone else about my channel, which I'm pretty sure, I want to think that I can trust them to you know, adhere to that request of mine. I want to think that the chances of anybody else at the club being able to see my videos, like, come on, like, but at the same time, I feel so messed with, like, with everything, like my YouTube and also at the club, they definitely seem to mess with me a lot. Like, things just seem too weird a lot of times to really just be coincidence. Or I've had some people there like make comments or do things where I'm like, oh, I wonder if I'm just scared to, like, you know, really talk about people that I work with, you know, because yeah, I want to think the chances of them seeing my channel or knowing about my channel or my videos is probably pretty slim. But then there's technically the possibility too, right? Like, I think, I don't know. So I just try to really be careful, like what I say about people that might in theory possibly be able to see my channel. I don't know, but just in case, I feel like there's stuff about this manager guy that would just be easier for me to say once I'm no longer gonna like be seeing him in person. That's gonna suck. I'm really gonna miss him. But again, I do try to like look at the positive sides of things. And I want to try to tell myself that maybe the positive side of that is I can talk about him more on here and just maybe delve into how I actually feel about him a little more and like how much I'm like, you know, just like, because I really feel weird, you know, thinking about or like doing that now. And it's like, I'm going to see him very shortly, you know, like I do specifically work a lot of the shifts that he works. So yeah, but you know, he is going to be moving soon. Once he does, I'll probably feel more comfortable about just talking about him a lot, you know, more than I already do. So I guess I'll try to just maybe hold off on other little things I want to mention about it. I feel like I'm almost positive that when he moves, when he is no longer at the club, I most likely will be talking about him nonstop. Like, just like, I feel like it's going to be a big topic and subject for me that I'm just never going to shut up about. So if I've seemed like a broken record about everything else that I talk about so far, I am going to be even much more so a broken record about him in a couple of months. So I feel like I'm just never gonna stop talking about him. Hopefully it won't be too bad, and hopefully I don't cry too much about it. I know that I'm probably gonna cry at some points, like just, it could go, you know, like a lot of things for me, it could go quite a few different directions probably, but anyway, gosh. Well, it's almost 4 o'clock, so I think I'm gonna try to get into the gym and do a quick little workout. As usual, I do have some notes pending. What I've been talking about in this video, I haven't even looked at my notes, so I guess I'll be saving these for probably Sunday. Although even Sunday, I'm gonna be trying to go to work at the club on Sunday, as I usually do, or as I have been for a while lately. So depending on how that goes, depending on what time I get up, if I'm gonna try to squeeze in possibly sometime here at the gym before my shift on Sunday. I'm pretty sure last Sunday I was able to get to the gym here at this gym before I went to work at the club. And I'm pretty sure last Sunday I did 7 miles on the treadmill, which that's usually what I like to try to get. But yeah, I don't know. That's definitely not always possible for me. I'm still pretty much just starting to get back to the gym pretty recently. Up until the past couple weeks or so, I really hadn't been to the gym at all this winter. So, whereas last summer I was, you know, doing pretty good with it. But anyway, yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up in a minute and get in there and see how that goes. But so I worked Sunday through Wednesday at the club this week, and then I did go out yesterday and obviously today. So today is Friday. I think tomorrow being Saturday, I'll probably try to just stay in and take a full day off tomorrow. Because yeah, I have been out. I've gone out every single day of the week so far for this week. So I think tomorrow I would like to just have a full day of just not going out and, you know, just trying to relax. Excuse me, relax. I did have popcorn last night. The entire month of February, I had managed to hold off on the popcorn because, I don't know, I was just trying to take a little break from it, you know. I just feel like I overdo it, or I know that I overdo it with the popcorn sometimes, because it's just too easy to just pop and not really know exactly when to stop, because, you know, it's just, but anyway, so, but after I found those poems last night, I just was like, let's celebrate. I was like, but I feel like I did pretty good with it. You know, I want to think that I was reasonable with that. But anyways, so yeah, I think tomorrow I'd like to just try to take a nice day to relax and just, you know, sleep in, watch videos on YouTube recreationally. I still haven't watched back the last few videos that I've done of mine. I usually do try to do that when I feel up to it, or I don't know. I just don't always feel like doing it sometimes. I just, but anyway, so I probably won't be coming on tomorrow. Most likely is what I'm thinking as of now. But Sunday, yeah, I do usually work at the club on Sunday, depending on what time I get up and if I'm able to come to the gym, or if I decide to try to squeeze in the gym as well. I would like to think that hopefully I'll be able to somehow squeeze in a stream on this Sunday, because I do usually try to do that. Although with me trying to squeeze in the gym as well lately, that has been a little more difficult, but I'm still gonna try for it, you know. So hopefully I'll be able to come back on sooner than later, as I like to say. Better take these off now. Oh. Where's my brush? Oh. It's such a terrible sound. Oh, that was something I actually wanted to mention. Oh my gosh, it reminded me. So wigs suck. I hate wearing wigs so much, you guys. They're so uncomfortable. And if there's one of the most uncomfortable feelings that I've ever experienced, other than being a stripper and like everything else that I've experienced in my existence, is when you have a wig hair, or when I have a wig hair poking into my eye, which happens a lot. It's like straw. It's like being poked in the eye with pieces of straw. Sorry, just in case I can't get a decent thumbnail at the start of this video, I want to think maybe I could get one now. What? See, wigs are not nice, okay? Somebody was asking me in a comment the other day, like, what would I want to do in a perfect world? I I have many answers for that, many things, a long list, I feel like. But on that list, one of the things is I would want to start my own line of wigs, like wigs that I actually like. You know what I mean? Wigs that might be more comfortable, and then I would just buy all my own product probably, because these wigs are very old and they do show it. They're very like just not in very good condition anymore. And like what is happening with this? Why won't that move? Why won't it? So yeah, in case I can't get a thumbnail at the start, I'm gonna try to get one now. Hold on. I can't see myself very well on the screen, so there's always something that looks bad that I can't really see until I watch it back later. When I am able to watch stuff back later, there's always something where I'm like, how did I not see that before? But then again, yeah, I really can't see my phone is pretty small. The screen is pretty small, and my eyesight's not the best, even with the glasses. Never has been. So yeah, a lot of times with the lighting too, like I really just can't see myself very well. But okay, so before I forget, at the gym last night, I really was struggling with that workout a lot. I am still trying to get back into the gym. It's a pretty recent thing for me here with that. So I was struggling to even try to get a 5K on the treadmill last night. I just felt I've been wearing less clothing with that. Like I took my hats off, I took my earmuffs off, I actually even took my hoodies off. So I'm wearing a tank top underneath. Well, that's the bra, but I'm wearing like a tank top. Where is it? So I took the hoodies off and I was just wearing the tank top and obviously the pants still. I didn't take the pants off. I took a lot of my warmer gear. Like I took my gloves off, I took my hat. I was wearing hats last night and earmuffs. I took those off. I took the hoodies off. And I was still feeling pretty hot on the treadmill last night, just kind of like uncomfortably so, just like sweaty and just but the wig hairs were poking me in the eyes for a lot of that. And there's certain times when that happens where I'll try to brush them to the side and they just won't move. They're just still stuck in my eyes. And it's like my face will get hot and sweaty, so the wig hairs will stick to that, like they'll stick to my sweaty face, and just like there's certain times where I feel like no matter how many times I try to do this, the wig hairs will just keep poking me in the eyes, and they'll just be like stuck on my eyeball. So last night that was happening, and it was driving me nuts to the point where I actually I took my wigs off. I just ripped them right off of my head. And I'm pretty sure I have never done that here at the gym before, or anywhere else for that matter. Maybe if anything in my car, like in traffic. I try not to do it like where people can see me, obviously, like in traffic, but at least in traffic, it's like come and go and nobody's really like, you know, gonna stay and see for very much longer usually than just maybe a moment or two, if they even see at all. But in the gym, I just took them right off of my head for a minute, and I just to get it out of my eye finally, and then I put them right back on. I didn't see anybody like look over at me weird. It was very busy, by the way. It was very busy. Almost every treadmill around me was occupied. Like almost every machine in the gym was occupied. When I first walked in there, the smell just hit me like, oh, it's 4 o'clock on the dot. The smell just like hit me like it does that sometimes. Like, you know, when you haven't been to the gym in a while and you go in after taking a break and it's busy, there's all these people in there just like sweaty, and it's just that smell just like hits you. Like, I don't like that. I do not like that. I think honestly that probably also factors in to why it had been such a while since I'd been to the gym up until recently. That wasn't like probably one of the main reasons. Like the main reasons were like winter, obviously, But I know that was factoring into that to some extent anyways. Like, that's just a terrible smell, and oh my God. Anyway, yeah, it was very busy. And but even with that being the case, I really didn't see anybody that seemed like they noticed me taking my wig off like that. Like, nobody really looked over or like gave me a weird look. You know, people were just like in their own, doing their own thing, like in the zone or whatever. And it was very quick, it was very brief. But yeah, I'm almost positive completely that was my first time ever doing that. And it was that bad though. It was that bad of like the wigs poking me, like the wig hairs poking me in the eye, where I was just like, oh my gosh, like I just didn't know how else to get it out of my eye. Wigs suck. I'm glad that they exist for people like me that have follicular struggles as well. that also struggle follicularly. Sure, why not? But that being said, I just know that the ones that I have are very, very uncomfortable, if not painful. They're outright painful a lot of the times, where it's like, oh my gosh. And especially in the summer too. In the summer when it gets so hot, I do just want to whip them right off my head sometimes. I think I actually did do that last summer a couple times. Last summer, because as cold as it is here most of the year where I am, the summers do in July and August, and sometimes even June, still do get very, very hot. Like, too much so for me, especially since my body is so used to being in extremely cold temperatures. Yeah, I don't have the heat on in the apartment that I stay at. This is my fourth year, my fourth winter without having the heat on there for the winter time, or just any time. So, and I don't put the AC on in the summer either. So I just try to ride out the temperature extremes the best that I can, you know, trying to conserve electricity or trying to keep my bill not as high. I don't know. But, so this summer, I remember not this summer, last summer, I know last summer we had, you know, times where it was over 90 degrees, you know, just especially hot. And there were a few times where I just took my wigs off and just wore this hat like over my bald head because it was just that hot. And last summer I was going pretty ham on the treadmills, like doing 99 minutes at a time without stopping. I was doing pretty good, getting like 9, 10, sometimes 11 miles in the 99 minutes. And then some other times I would even keep going for longer to get 13 miles just to call it a half marathon. So I was getting pretty hot with that too though. So yeah, sometimes I would just take the wigs off and put this on. I wouldn't do it in the gym. I would just go into the gym with my wig already off and the hat already on. So yeah, up until last night, I had never just like whipped my wigs off like that in front of people. But again, having the wig hairs poking into the eyeballs, it's not a nice feeling. Most people probably don't have to like relate all that well or know what I'm talking about. Although maybe some people out there are like, trust me, girl, I know. Yeah, it sucks. Oh gosh, it's so uncomfortable. Anyways, it's 4:04. Uh-oh. Now it's 4:05. It's 4:05. It's 4:05. Forget that I said that. I was like, isn't 4:04 an error code? Oh crap. No, 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 no. It's 4:05 now. It really is. I swear it is. That's what my phone says anyways. Okay, time to go for me. I'm gonna go into the gym and try to just knock out a quick workout. And yes, hopefully I'll be able to come back on sooner than later. Hope you guys are well, and peace out for now. It's 4:05, by the way. Bye for now, guys. Oh, real quick, it says that I have 8 viewers, 8 likes, and 80 minutes is the timestamp. Oh wait, now it's 81. 81, okay. Okay, bye for now.